So you just had sex, and you're lying in bed next to her. The sex was good, maybe great, but something feels off. You can't really place it, but there's this weird distance. She's scrolling her phone while you're wondering if you should say something, and then it hits you. You just gave her everything, but somehow you feel further away than before you even touched her. But here's the thing, I spent 2 years studying attachment psychology and interviewing relationship therapists to understand why this happens. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to create real closeness without losing yourself in the process, and why most guys are doing the exact opposite of what actually works. But here's what nobody tells you. There's a hidden law of intimacy that governs every relationship you'll ever have. It's been sitting in plain sight this whole time, documented in research from the late 80s by psychologist Arthur Aaron, but somehow it never made it into the mainstream advice guys get. And if you don't understand it, you'll keep wondering why the closer you try to get, the more she pulls away. Before we go further, if you want the fastest way to decode what she's really thinking when she's genuinely interested versus if she's just playing games, check out my book, The Truth Detector. It's the first link in the description. It'll solve this exact problem faster than anything else I can give you. So, what is this law? Most guys think intimacy works like a straight line. The more you open up, the more vulnerable you are, the more time you spend together, the closer you get. Wrong. That's the biggest lie we've been sold, because intimacy doesn't work on addition, it works on polarity, and polarity requires space. Let me paint you a picture. You meet a girl. First few dates are electric. You're texting, but not too much. There's mystery, there's tension, then something shifts. You start spending every night together. You tell her everything. You make yourself completely available, and suddenly the spark dies. She says she needs space. But here's what actually happened. You collapsed the polarity. You removed the space that intimacy needs to breathe. Think about a fire. It needs oxygen. Smother it and it dies. Intimacy is the same. Now, you might be thinking, wait, isn't vulnerability supposed to bring people closer? Yes, but there's a catch most people miss. Vulnerability without boundaries is just neediness in disguise. Dr. Brené Brown spent a decade researching this. Her work from her 2012 book, Daring Greatly, shows that real vulnerability requires a foundation of self-worth. When you open up from a place of strength, it creates connection. When you open up from fear or desperation, hoping she'll validate you, it repels her. She can feel the difference, always. So here's the paradox. The guys who try hardest to create intimacy often push women away because they're trying to use closeness to fill a void inside themselves, and women can sense that from a mile away. Think about the last time she started pulling back. What were you doing right before that? I'm willing to bet you were giving more, texting more, trying harder, but you were using intimacy as a tool to make yourself feel secure, and that's not intimacy, that's dependency. The hidden law is this. Intimacy grows in the space between connection and independence, not in constant togetherness, in the rhythm of coming together and pulling back, in the dance. Let me tell you about my friend Marcus. Smart guy, successful, but he kept ending up in the same pattern with every girl he dated. Things would start great, then 3 months in, she'd ghost. One night he's at my place, frustrated. I don't get it, he says. I was there for her. I made myself available whenever she needed me. And that's when I saw it. He thought being a good boyfriend meant being available 24/7, but what he was really doing was erasing himself. He stopped having his own life, his own interest, his own mystery. He became predictable, safe, boring. So I asked him, when's the last time you told her no? When's the last time she had to wonder what you were doing? He couldn't answer because he'd made her his entire world, and ironically, that's exactly what killed her attraction. Research from the Kinsey Institute shows that couples who maintain the highest levels of desire over time are the ones who preserve individual identity within the relationship. They don't merge into one person. They stay two separate people who choose to come together. That choice, that space where she could lose you, is what keeps the tension alive. Think about it. You can't miss someone who's always there. You can't desire someone who's completely predictable. You can't chase someone who's already caught. The hidden law says that closeness requires contrast. Presence needs absence. Connection needs space. Now here's where guys mess up. They hear create space and think it means play games, act distant, ghost her for a few days. No, that's manipulation. The space I'm talking about is genuine independence, you actually having a life that exists outside of her. So what does this look like? It means when she texts you at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, sometimes you're busy with something that matters and you respond 3 hours later. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you were genuinely occupied with your own mission. It means when she wants to hang out 5 nights in a row, you say yes to 2 or 3, and the other nights you're doing your thing. Gym, friends, work, whatever lights you up independently of her. But here's the thing, this only works if the space is real. If you're sitting at home missing her, checking your phone every 5 minutes, you're not creating healthy space. You're just hiding your neediness. The space has to be authentic. And this brings me to the moment most guys completely blow it. The moment after sex. Your brain is flooded with oxytocin. You feel close, connected, and your instinct is to double down. Start talking about feelings. Ask where this is going. Maybe drop an "I'm falling for you." Don't. A study from 2013 in the Journal of Sexual Medicine found that men and women process post-sex intimacy in fundamentally different ways. For men, physical intimacy often creates immediate emotional bonding. For women, it's more complex. She needs time to process what just happened before she's ready to verbalize feelings about it. So when you push for emotional closeness right after physical closeness, you're asking her to speed up her natural process. And it feels like pressure. And pressure is the enemy of desire. I learned this the hard way with a girl named Sarah. Amazing chemistry. One night after we hooked up, I made the mistake of asking, "So what are we?" I thought I was being mature, but I watched her whole energy shift. 2 days later, she hit me with the "I'm not ready for anything serious" text. I killed the mystery. I collapsed the space. I took a moment that should have stayed physical and tried to force it into emotional territory before she was ready. Therefore, the moments right after intimacy aren't for talking. They're for being, for letting her come to her own conclusions without you steering the narrative. This is where the truth detector becomes crucial. It teaches you how to read what she's actually feeling instead of forcing conversations that push her away. First link in the description if you want to stop guessing and start knowing. So what should you do after sex? Be present, but not clingy. If she wants to talk, great. If she needs silence, even better. Follow her lead, but don't chase validation. And here's the part that will surprise you. Sometimes the most intimate thing you can do is leave. Not in a cold way, but in a "I've got stuff to do tomorrow, and I'm not going to rearrange my entire life just because we had sex" way. I know a guy who does this perfectly. Amazing night with a girl, then around midnight he'll say, "I should get going, got an early meeting." And he means it. He genuinely has priorities beyond her. And you know what happens? She respects it, because most guys would stay, but he maintains his boundaries and it makes her want him more. But let's talk about the flip side. Some guys here create space and go too far. They become emotionally unavailable. They never let anyone in. And yeah, it might create initial intrigue, but it doesn't create real intimacy. Real intimacy requires moments of genuine vulnerability. The key is timing. You don't lead with vulnerability. You offer it sparingly from a place of strength after trust has been built. Think of it like this. Vulnerability is a gift, not a currency. You don't give it away hoping for something in return. You give it when the moment is right, when she's earned it. I remember sitting in a coffee shop with a girl I'd been seeing for about a month. Things were surface level pleasant. Then she asked me about my family, and normally I'd give some generic answer, but something in the way she asked made me pause. So I told her the truth. About my dad, about the year he got sick. It was maybe 2 minutes of real honesty, but I watched her entire demeanor shift. She leaned in, and from that point on, the dynamic between us changed. Not because I trauma dumped, but because I let her see something real when the moment called for it. That's the dance. Space and presence, independence and connection, mystery and vulnerability. The hidden law isn't about choosing one or the other. It's about knowing when to step forward and when to step back. So here's what this looks like practically. She's pulling away a bit. Your instinct is to chase, to text more, to ask what's wrong. But the hidden law says, give her space, not as a punishment, just genuine space to miss you, to wonder about you, to come back on her own terms. And when she does come back, because if there's real attraction, she will. You don't interrogate her. You just enjoy the fact that she's there. That's the rhythm, push and pull, like breathing. There's this concept in physics called optimal distance. Two magnets, too far apart and there's no pull. Too close and they stick together, losing the dynamic tension. The sweet spot is just close enough to feel the pull, but with enough space that the attraction stays electric. That's what you're creating. Not distance for the sake of distance, but the optimal distance where desire lives. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds exhausting. Why can't I just be myself? Fair question. But here's the thing. This isn't about being fake. It's about being whole. A complete person doesn't need another person to feel complete. They have their own life, their own purpose, their own identity. And when they connect with someone, it's from a place of want, not need. That's attractive. That's sustainable. Because the women who are worth your time don't want a guy who makes them his entire world. They want a guy who has his own world and chooses to share it with them. There's a massive difference. The guy who makes her his world, he's seeking validation. He needs her to feel whole, and that need becomes a weight she has to carry. But the guy who has his own world, he's offering an invitation. I've got this amazing life. Want to be part of it? There's no pressure in that, just possibility. And possibility is sexy. So if you want to create real intimacy, the kind that lasts, you need to master this law. Build your own life, have your own mission, be someone who's genuinely interesting with or without her. Then, when you do connect, it means something. And when she pulls away, because she will sometimes, you don't panic, you don't chase, you just keep living your life because you understand the law. Space doesn't mean the end. It means the relationship is breathing. That's the real power move, not the fake alpha stuff. Just genuine self-sufficiency that makes space feel natural instead of strategic. The reason most guys can't do this is because they're terrified of losing her, so they cling. They try to lock things down. They eliminate any possibility of her leaving by making themselves indispensable, always available, always agreeable, always there, and it backfires every time because women don't want indispensable. They want irreplaceable, and you can't be irreplaceable if you're always there. You become furniture, taken for granted. I watched this happen to my buddy Jake. He met a girl at a wedding. Within 2 weeks, he'd rearranged his entire schedule around her. 3 months later, she broke up with him, said she wasn't feeling it anymore. But here's what she told her friend. He was great, but I felt like I was dating a puppy, like he had no life outside of me. It was suffocating. He thought he was being a good boyfriend, but what he was really doing was abandoning himself. And when you abandon yourself for someone else, they lose respect for you. So the hidden law protects you as much as it creates attraction. It keeps you from losing yourself. It reminds you that your life, your goals, your identity, those things matter, with or without her. When you actually internalize this law, when you genuinely have a life you love, something shifts. You stop seeing relationships as the destination. They become an addition to an already fulfilling life, not the thing that makes your life worth living. And women feel that shift immediately. They can tell when you're with them because you want to be, versus when you're with them because you need to be. The first is attractive. The second is repulsive. I was at dinner with a girl I'd been seeing. My phone buzzed. My boys asking if I wanted to hit this event later. Old me would have ignored it, but I looked at it and told her, "Hey, I'm gonna head out after this. My boys are doing something and I haven't seen them in a minute." You know what she said? "That's cool. I like that you have your own thing going on." That moment taught me everything. She didn't want me to ditch my friends for her. She wanted to see that I had a life, that I made choices based on what I actually wanted, not on what I thought would make her like me more. Therefore, the hidden law isn't just about creating space. It's about maintaining integrity, being honest about what you want, not contorting yourself into what you think she wants. And let's talk about what happens when you violate this law, when you go from 0 to 100, when you start talking about the future after 3 dates, when you introduce her to your family before you've even established what you are. You create pressure, and pressure kills desire. She starts feeling like she has to match your intensity. Like she has to figure out her feelings right now. And instead of naturally developing feelings, she's in her head analyzing. And the more she analyzes, the less she feels. Because feelings don't survive in analysis. They survive in mystery, in space. This is why guys who move slow often win. Not because they're playing hard to get, but because they're letting things unfold naturally. They're not forcing intimacy. They're creating the conditions for it to grow. But here's the part nobody warns you about. When you start living by this law, some women will leave. And that's exactly the point. The women who need you to be available 24/7, who need constant reassurance, who can't handle you having your own life, they'll filter themselves out. And you should let them. The right woman, she'll respect the space. She'll appreciate that you're not desperate. She'll value the fact that when you choose to spend time with her, it's because you genuinely want to. I learned this at 26. I was dating someone who constantly needed attention. If I didn't text back within an hour, there'd be a "you okay?" follow-up. If I made plans with friends, she'd get quiet. So I'd cancel. And every time I did, I could feel her respect for me slipping away. One day, I just stopped canceling my plans, stopped over-explaining, and she left, said I wasn't invested enough. At first, I thought I'd messed up, but then I met someone else, someone who had her own life. When I tell her I had plans, she'd say, "Cool, have fun. I've got stuff going on too." And the space between us didn't feel like distance. It felt like freedom. That relationship lasted 3 years. Not because we were always together, but because we never needed to be. So if you take one thing from this, take this. The hidden law of intimacy isn't a trick to manipulate women. It's a framework for building relationships that actually work. Relationships based on mutual respect, genuine desire, and two complete people choosing each other. Not two incomplete people clinging to each other. And if you're struggling to tell whether she's genuinely interested or just keeping you around for validation, whether she's playing games or legitimately busy, this is exactly what the truth detector was built for. It breaks down every signal, every pattern, every game, so you stop guessing and start knowing. Links in the description. But here's what it looks like when you get it right. She texts asking to hang out. You've got plans, so you tell her, "Can't tonight, but I'm free Thursday." No apology, no over-explanation, just honesty. She says, "Cool." Thursday comes, you have an amazing time together. No weirdness, because she respects that you have a life and you respect that she can handle you having one. That's the rhythm. That's intimacy that lasts. The hidden law reminds you that your time matters, your life matters, your goals matter. And ironically, when you actually believe that, when you live like your life has value independent of her, that's when she sees your value most clearly. Because value can't be told, it has to be demonstrated. And the fastest way to demonstrate low value is to act like you have nothing better to do than wait around for her. The fastest way to demonstrate high value is to have a life so full that she has to earn a spot in it. Not through games, through genuine compatibility and mutual investment. But she can't invest if you've already given her everything up front. There's nothing left to work toward, no mystery to uncover. You don't get her by being always available. You get her by being worth waiting for. YouTube thinks you'll really love this video, so click on it and I'll see you there.